I like to talk about Bitcoin as in I save in Bitcoin. I don't invest into Bitcoin. And so it's a frame of words, and the reason why I like to use that word is it changes my mindset and time frame. So when I think of it as I invest into Bitcoin, it seems like it's something like active that I have to be doing. And when will I sell the investment? Whereas if I'm saving into it, it's just that's where I'm putting my money. And so first, let's start with time frame. So if you listen to Michael Saylor talk, which most of your audience I'm sure does, you'll notice he always talks in minimum of 10-year time frames and typically no longer than 20-year time frames. So for him, it's like 10 years at a time. So like the MicroStrategy, projections are 10 years out. For me, I think in typically 5-year time frames. I'm not quite the visionary he is, but I started my career in real estate. And so from the time I found a piece of dirt, hired the architects, got the builders, built the property, sold, it was like 4 or 5 years. So I think in like 5-year time frames. So you mentioned the 4-year cycle with Bitcoin. Think at least 4 or 5 years at a time. Better to think 10 years at a time. So if you're approaching it like a trader, like, hey, what if I buy it here and then where's the price of Bitcoin going to be in a month? It's like, who cares where the price of Bitcoin is going to be in a month? Like, if I'm saving into it, I don't care in a month. I don't even care in 5 years. But I'd say, number one, think longer term. So that's step number one. Now, you mentioned these 4-year cycles. In a year from now, we can look back and decide if it actually is dead or not. You mentioned that you're going to have Michael Howell and Raoul Pal on, and I think both of them would tell you that it was never about Bitcoin's 4-year halving cycle. It was always about the global liquidity cycle. And
True.
So it just so happened, Raoul can tell you that it just so happened that the 4-year halving cycle lined up with the 4-year election cycle, the 4-year ISM business cycle, and the 4-year liquidity cycle. It just so happened that it all lined up on that. And so I think the global liquidity cycle is actually in the driver's seat. It's the dog. The 4-year cycle is just the tail is getting wagged. And so is it broken? It appears to be. However, I guess if we want to look at it, per the 4-year cycle, the peak would typically come 18 months after the halving, which would have been about November. And when was the peak? When was Bitcoin's peak? I mean, it was October, November. So it only fell 30%, not 80%. But maybe that was the 4-year cycle. Maybe so many people believed in the 4-year cycle that it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I would say that the structure is still up, right? So since the 2022 low, what did we get down to, like 15.9, I think, US dollars? This is the third 30% drawdown we've had. And so I think it's holding the market structure. So I don't look at it as a big crash. I look at it as just sort of like routine volatility, in my opinion. What do I expect in 2026? I mean, all eyes on liquidity. So what do I think is going to happen with liquidity in 2026? My base case is it goes up. And I say base case because there's other reasons to think maybe why it won't. But, in the United States, we have the Fed. We talked about the dollar reserve currency of the world already. And, all the other central banks are sort of waiting to see what happens with the dollar. And Donald Trump, the president, has been extremely vocal about wanting to get rates down to 1%. And Donald Trump seems to have a way of getting what he wants. We know that Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, is out here in a couple months. And the president gets to elect the new Fed chair. And my guess is before his term is over the next 3 years, he'll get his way and rates maybe don't get to 1, but probably get somewhere close. So that means the next couple years, this year, and the next couple years, I think we'll have declining rates, which means weakening dollar, which means more liquidity into the system, which means commodity prices, asset prices go up. So I think that it's a bullish year for Bitcoin. I think we end the year much higher than this. I think there's, obviously reasons why that could get derailed, but that's sort of my base case.